Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for another Sims 3 speed video where I'm back in Sunset Valley and I am rebuilding the pool in Sunset Valley, and I'm having to rebuild it because I changed the size of the lot, so I wasn't able to renovate the original lot. I mean, I could have renovated it, but I would have had to kind of recreate it on this lot, which I think is a little bit smaller than the original that was here. And yeah, so I mean, because that would have taken a really long time to do, I just decided to go ahead and rebuild the pool. But this time around, I'm doing it more of like an aquatic center. It's not like, it does have a pool as well, but it also has a couple of other facilities that can be used. And yeah, I mean, one of those facilities is the ballet bar from the store, and I've also got a yoga room as well. Now, there isn't yoga in the vanilla game, but there is a yoga mod, and I've pretty much set up this build for that mod, and you know, having that mod in mind, but I don't have it installed when I didn't have it installed when I built this. I've just kind of laid out some spaces for where rugs could go. And yeah, so I mean, if you do want to play with that mod, then you can just go ahead and place all the rugs in the upstairs part where the yoga studio is. Now, in terms of the shell of this build, I mean, it took a very, very long time for me to decide on what I actually wanted, and then I kind of settled for an exterior and started moving on to the interior of the build, but I didn't really like it towards the end. I actually got to the point where I was doing some, you know, some final panning shots for the exterior, and I was just like, this build, it just isn't really, it's like, I wasn't satisfied with it. You can kind of see the completed exterior here. This is more or less what I settled on for the remainder of the build until I decided to change it at the very end. So you will see me revisit the exterior a bit later on, probably towards the very end of the build, because yeah, like I said, I was doing the panning shots and then I decided to come back and change it. So I've kind of just sped through what I had initially put together for the exterior, because it does kind of change quite a bit. So yeah, I wasn't too keen on wasting time talking about something that I changed pretty drastically. And yeah, so we're just moving on to the interior here now. In terms of the entryway, we've just got like a main desk area. And of course, this isn't functional, it's just for decoration, but I do like my builds to be somewhat realistic. So, you know, for a facility like a pool, there would be an area for you to come and sign in and, you know, buy a pass or sign up for, you know, some of the activities or whatever. And then on the other side of the room here is another cafe, similar to the cafe that I did in the arcade. It's basically just like a self-service cafe. It doesn't have the kind of the coffee bar or whatever it is from University Life. It's just got a couple of coffee machines and some vending machines as well. And I'm kind of going for a more of a modern look for this build. I've done quite a few classic builds now, and I've got a few more to do. So I just decided to stick with a modern, more of a modern theme for this build here. So I'm using a lot of the Into the Future items and decor all over the place, really. And it kind of reminds me of the first apartment building that I did, or the first penthouse apartment, because I did use a lot of these objects. So it was nice to be able to use them again, because I think they're pretty cool. And I'm kind of glad that we got them, because I mean, even though they are a bit they are a bit dated. I mean, this game Into the Future came out like over 10 years ago now, so the styles are a little bit dated, but I mean, if you slap some nice recolors on them, then they can still look pretty good and pretty modern. So still, yeah, pretty grateful that we have these objects. So I'm working on the reception area here, and yeah, putting in some wall cabinets behind it, just so it looks a little more filled out and not just like a blank, well, not a blank wall, but just a flat wall. And I'm making this little cubby for a desk, which I also did in the last apartment that I did, the kind of the rebuild of the penthouse. And now I'm going ahead and putting some counters together, some island cabinets. Island counters to make this little kind of bar space here, and having to turn off the auto snapping objects, because yeah, I mean, if you have that turned off, then it allows you to move the cabinets freely without them snapping to each other automatically. So yeah, at this point I'm just going through and just deciding what I actually want to have in this cafe here, and just so that it looks a bit like more detailed, but yeah, not super cluttered or anything. These shelves definitely kind of add some dimension to wall spaces, especially if you want to keep walls to look kind of plain but not boring. And then I'm adding these hanging planters here in between the columns because they fit quite nicely there. And I did want to place this plant here. It's like I wanted a little bit more greenery in this room, but I couldn't quite find a plant that I liked. I wanted quite a big plant that was quite prominent, but in the end, that plant that I chose, I felt like it looked too out of place compared to all the modern furniture. It just looked weird, so I ended up getting rid of it, and I don't end up replacing it. So that space does go plantless, apart from the hangers that I placed in between those columns. Now I'm just picking out some lights for the reception area, and I've gone with these lights from Nightlife. I don't actually think there's much store content in this build here. I'm pretty sure the only store content that I used is the ballet bar and some of the stuff that came with that set. Maybe some stuff in the changing rooms, but it's not as store heavy as, say, the last build that I did, the penthouse apartment. And we've just got this awkward corner here, and I was trying to figure out what to put in there, and I was thinking, maybe some sectional sofas, but they looked a little too bulky, so I just left that blank for now. And I think I just put a trash can in the corner there, just keeping it pretty simple. Still trying to figure out some decor for behind the desk or the reception area here. Just pulling out some bits and pieces of clutter from the debug menu. But the broom, for example, I do end up getting rid of that because it just looked a little messy. Just having this random ugly broom behind this nice, tidy, modern looking reception. So I got rid of that, and I'm just putting some plants up on the counter here. Before I think I'm just about done with furnishing. I'm getting ready to start recoloring stuff. Oh no, hang on, I have to put a railing on the stairs here, and upstairs where I am putting a railing around the upper level, but I do pull the railing back a little bit because you can see that the top of the cabinets are exposed, so I do pull the railing over so that it covers, so just add some extra flooring over those cabinets so that they're not exposed. Now I'm going in with the floor, and I wanted some warmer colors for the pool. I was looking for looking at some reference photos, and I found some pool designs that had these nice kind of warmer tones to them, and it's all pretty much all tile. And the walls here, I was just trying to experiment with colors and different textures and stuff, particularly with these bricks, and having them not match the floor, so to speak, but complement the floor a little bit. And and once I've found the color for those, I've gone ahead and added changed the color of the top panel to be black. So there is like a lot of like black, beige, and maybe some white. And yeah, so it's a very warm, kind of neutral color scheme. And then I'm just kind of, just going ahead and recoloring the counters here. Now for these lights on the bottom of the counters, I was about to say cabinets again, but the lights on the bottom of the cabinets, I did leave them more of like an aqua blue, and I left the blue on the shelves that surround the cafe, but they looked a little bit weird when I was coming back to do some painting shots. So I actually I got rid of the lights on the shelves, and you can do that by just changing the color to black and then turning it, or saturating it to the max, and then it kind of makes the lights more or less invisible. So I came and did that on the shelves because I just felt like they looked a bit funny with the just being lit up like that. Now I'm colouring in the recoloring the railing. I went to go recolor the platform, but of course it had fencing on it, so I wasn't able to change the color of it. I had to remove the railing and then recolor the platform and then put the railing back. And you can see with the lights, I've kind of gone for this aqua blue as well. I was thinking about adding these like little aqua blue accents to the whole build, but I wasn't quite feeling it. I just wanted something more plain. So in terms of like the detailing of this build, I mean, it's a pool. In some parts, like I feel like it looks kind of bare, but at the same time, like it's a pool. And I was looking at like pools and aquatic centers to see, like, get some ideas of how I should furnish spaces and fill out space. But there's a lot of empty space in pools, and I guess it's because, they are facilities. They're there to be used for a specific purpose. They're not really meant to be like admired, or, you're not really spending a lot of time in them. So they're not necessarily cozy spaces or anything like that. So there are quite big open spaces, particularly upstairs in the ballet studio, or the yoga studio, or the ballet room. I don't know what to call that room, but a lot of open space. And I mean, it does mean that, Sims who are coming here to do activities, they've just got lots of space to move around, and they, you don't really have to worry about getting in people's way. And I suppose that's, perhaps the purpose of the big open spaces of pools is so that you're not getting in people's way, and there's lots of space for people to move around. People are doing exercise and activities, and they're all over the place. So just making sure people are safe. And now I'm coming to the actual pool room. So I did place the pool down initially just to get an idea of where I wanted it to be, and now I've just extended it right out to the window. And this is a 2-story room, so it's like a high ceiling room, and it's got some windows that look out onto the street, but also there's some windows that look out onto the corridor where the changing rooms are. And there are also rooms on the upper level that one of the rooms, the ballet room, overlooks the pool. And you'll see that in just a moment. Now I'm adding in some swimming lanes into the pool, even though they're not functional. It just makes the pool look more interesting, I think. And now I'm adding the wall texture to the pool, and instead of a black tile, I've gone with white, and then that climbs all the way up to the 2nd floor. And you can see there that one of the rooms here, this is where the ballet room is, it overlooks the pool, which is quite cool. And now I'm adding in the ladders and 4 diving boards, because I did want this to look like a proper pool facility. I didn't really want it to be like just a random kind of outdoor play pool or anything like that. And I think, because I was thinking, do I want to put a water slide here? And I was like, oh no, it looks kind of stupid because this looks like a proper like a swimming facility where you would come to swim to exercise rather than play. So I didn't think that the slide really fit. And I was thinking it would be nice to have a slide, like a public water slide somewhere, but I just don't know where I'm going to put it because I don't want... This is really the only public pool that I'm going to do in Sunset Valley. Initially there are 2 public pools, but there's one behind the lofts. And I have actually other plans for that lot. I'm going to turn that one into a basketball court. So yeah, at this stage, this is the only pool in Sunset Valley, and it has no water slide. So I may need to reconsider my decision not to build another pool. But at this stage, I've kind of got ideas for all the lots, like what I want to do for all the lots. So I don't know if I'm going to do another pool. But I'll need to think about it. Anyway, so I've got the yoga studio out here, and I've just kind of added in the spaces for where the yoga mats can go, added in a little bit of clutter just to show that people actually use this room to practice yoga. Now I've got this little kind of diagonal bump out here, but we are not going to see what I'm going to do with that because I get rid of the whole thing. It was just very out of place. So I kind of built it to be like this little Zen room, but and the only reason why I did that was because I had this bump out on the front, this diagonal bump out. That's and the sole purpose of that bump out was simply to make the exterior look a bit more interesting. And then when I decided to get rid of the bump out, I was like, well, I didn't have any point for this like little Zen room that was just, a random space that was in the yoga room. It just didn't really make sense. Even when I built it, I was like, what do I even put here? So I just put in some chairs and a candle. That's all that's in there. Sorry, some lounge chairs. So yeah, in the end, I, get rid of that completely. So I don't even show what I do in that room. So I finished with the yoga room, and now I'm moving on to the yoga studio, and now I'm moving on to the ballet space, and I'm getting the bars out. And of course, they're along the mirror there, and then I've got some more over on the other wall. And I was actually, kind of stumped as to what to put in these, because at this point I was realizing that these rooms were really big and empty, but then that kind of makes it's more fitting, because I feel like whenever I see yoga studios and I guess ballet studios or whatever types of rooms, whatever you call them, they are usually quite empty, and like I said, there's just a lot of space for people to move around without there being lots of stuff in the way. Then I've got these exercise posters here, and I'm pretty sure that one is maybe a base game one. Can't quite remember, but the second one, the stretching one that had the pink frame, that's definitely from the store set that has the ballet bar in it. Now I've just got this seating here that I'm placing in the upstairs landing, and as you can see, I just moved like I said earlier, I pulled the railing back just so that it covered the upper cabinets on the lower level, and I'm recoloring it to complement the surroundings a little bit more. And it goes all the way to the edge, but then I decided to replace it with a coffee table, and I just place a plant on this coffee table. And yeah, there it is, looking fantastic. Just trying to figure out a plant to put on here. In terms of like plants in this game, it's mostly indoor plants. I'm happy with the exterior landscaping, but I always kind of struggle with the choices of indoor plants here. Even though I have a ton of plants from the store, I just feel like all the plants in this game are like well, not all of them. A lot of the plants in this game, like the pots or whatever, are super themed, and it's really hard to get them to fit into, they're not very, the word I'm looking for, they're not very flexible, versatile. They're not very versatile. You can't really use them in multiple situations, unlike plants in The Sims 2 and The Sims 4, where I feel like there's a lot of kind of just basic looking plant pots and whatever, so you can kind of use plants in a variety of situations because they're quite generic looking. Whereas in The Sims 3, and I think that's just with the store content in general, a lot of it is super themed and not very versatile, and you kind of can only use it in certain situations. So I do kind of struggle with using plants in this game, and You might see me run to the same plants over and over again, especially when they're more kind of generic looking. But now I've moved on to the changing rooms, and we have got some sinks and toilets and some stalls for showers. I found these lockers, and then I just wanted some seating in the changing rooms, and I thought about putting a sectional sofa, but then I just randomly pulled out this dining chair from, I think it's an Into the Future dining chair. I randomly just pulled it out, and it actually looks quite nice when it's just right up against, you know, when you place it very close together. It just looks like a, you know, like a bench kind of that you would see. I mean, I can't really say I've seen a bench like this in a gym changing room before, but I mean, it looks like this, like the type of chair that you would see where, you know, if you're getting changed or whatever, there's just a space to sit down. So I just placed that chair in there. And now I'm moving on to the showers and recoloring the lockers, and I think I'm gonna come in and move these sinks. Yeah, so I'm kind of setting them up here, and then I moved them over to the other wall because I realized that those sinks, I think in the men's changing room, yeah, the men's changing room. So the sinks in the men's changing room were not in the right space to be, you know, if you are, what do you call it, using the bathroom or whatever, and then you go to wash your hands, you have to go all the way across the changing room to wash your hands, unlike the women's changing rooms where it's just the sinks are right in front of the toilet. So I do come and change the sinks, the position of the sinks in the men's changing rooms. And yeah, now I'm just adding in some clutter, and I should get around to moving the stuff, the sinks soon. I'm just, yeah, adding in some bits and pieces here. Guess just to make the changing rooms look used. So yeah, here is me changing the position of the sink. So literally all I do is just drop and place it, so from one end of the room to the other. So this is me revisiting the exterior. So this is kind of like the initial revisit that I did, where I decided that I wanted to go with some wood paneling on the exterior rather than, I think before it was just like a plain, almost like a stucco texture that was a beige color, but I decided to go with a wood paneling. And I'm just kind of deciding where I want the wood paneling to be versus the white tile, which is the other texture. And I think the initial color that I used was just the default color. Then I changed the tone to a darker tone, but I did want, like, I wanted the more warmer tone rather than a cooler tone. So you can see me changing it back to more of a warmer tone, rather than the cooler tone that I chose there. And the windows, I just added those to the second story because they weren't there before. And I just added some like decorative, they're not columns, but you can see they're kind of like wall panels that go from the floor to the ceiling. I also rearranged the parking space because I didn't have the diagonal bump out anymore, so it means I could put the parking spaces right up by the front door of the pool. The pool does have a back door as well, but yeah, it's not very interesting to look at. So it is, you would have seen it when I was decorating the corridor by the changing rooms and the swimming pool. But yeah, now I've got these pool signs here, and the landscaping I was struggling with a little bit, but in the end I just decided to have some plain grass with a couple of pool signs on there, and then I just repeated the landscaping that I've been doing in this area in general. And here we are with the panning shot. So yes, a very simple build. Hasn't taken me long, well, I feel like it hasn't taken me as long to speak over this one, but yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, the link is in the description. So yeah, I will say take care and talk to you later.